Hey GAWDA members, welcome to the June episode of GAWDA TV. We were so happy to see those of you who attended the Spring Management Conference in Dallas, and we're still buzzing from this amazing event. Here to recap all of the incredible highs from that event is GAWDA Vice President of Operations and Administration, Natasha Alexis. Natasha, thank you so much for being with us again. For anybody who wasn't able to make it out to Dallas, or even for those who were and just want to relive that magic again, can you give us a recap of this year's event?
Wow, what a wonderful time we had in Dallas, Steve. 769 attendees with our members showing up, eager, ready to connect with one another. Thank you to everyone who was able to join us. We really, again, raised the bar for coming together at our national meetings. We know there were some weather delays getting out of Dallas, so we really appreciate everyone's patience as we all made it home safely. But wow, Steve, what a wonderful meeting. We had 150 exhibitors exhibit at our contact booth program. When I started 15 years ago, Steve, it was nearing 100. So lots of growth with the organization. Very excited about that. Our exhibitors were prepared. They were engaged. We did our second Best in Show this time around. Congratulations to all our winners. We had a tie for third place, USA Cylinder and Jazz Brush. Second place, Ratterman and Elite Cryogenics with the first place. Again, very excited about that. 150 exhibitors. It's hard to hit all 150 in the 4 hours. It's just so many exciting products and services that our exhibitors are happy to share. So thank you to our suppliers for your support. Then we again congratulate 15 member students in the industry who we awarded $2,000 to continue their education. We're delighted to invest in the future of our industry. So lots of positive things. And lastly, want to quickly share that our president, Eric Wood, announced the Gives Back charity for the 25th anniversary of GAWDA Gives Back, Black Dagger Hunting Club, which is 100% volunteer organization of military professionals who are kind of creating this environment for veterans who have lost their sight, are disabled in different ways, and have stress, post-traumatic stress from being in battle, to hunt and to have time together in nature for healing. A really moving story on that. Visit GAWDA Gives Back on GAWDA.org for more information. And we invite all of you to come together and give back for this special cause. So really amazing things. And lastly, so many things to include. Lastly, I want to thank all our education speakers. We got some experts in our industry, and we're just so grateful that all of them have agreed to get on stage and share their insight and expertise. We had great participation. Thank you to everyone who participated there. And you know what? There's an opportunity next year for those of you who've maybe been on the sidelines and are looking for an opportunity to share your knowledge. Shoot me an email. Let's talk. We'd love to hear and have you on stage to engage with other industry professionals. So, Steve, really grateful for all the 769 GAWDA members who were able to join us in Dallas. Excited for the next annual convention in Tampa, Florida. Some sunshine, ready to greet you. Then we're going to be in Oklahoma City for next year's SMC and in Boston for next year's annual convention. So lots of ways for members to stay engaged. Again, thank you for all who were able to join us. Now, how do you continue to stay engaged post the SMC? Well, we have 2 regional meetings open for registration right now, Seven Springs and Northwest Regional Meeting in Cle Elum, Washington. You could go to GAWDA.org for more information. And then we have our virtual events. For those of you who maybe can't travel, our monthly safety managers meeting. You will get those emails in your inbox. The young professionals and women of gases and welding are also very active with their peer-to-peer networking and virtual events. So stay connected. This is all part of your GAWDA membership. If you have any questions, reach out to any of us on the GAWDA team, myself, or any others, and we'll be happy to assist you. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you to everybody who attended this year's SMC in Dallas. For those who missed the SMC Recap connection, you can find a link in the description below. The Recap connection includes pictures from across the event, as well as full photo galleries to help relive this amazing week. You also heard Natasha mention this year's GAWDA Gives Back recipient, Black Dagger Hunting Club. During the SMC, GAWDA President Eric Wood showed the following informational video about this year's recipient.
What inspired me over 10 years ago, actually, to start Black Dagger Military Hunt Club was a young Army captain. His name is Brian. He lost both legs in Afghanistan, and he approached us and said, hey, I'd like to get back outdoors and back on the shooting range. So we got out there, we built him a weapon, got him back out on the range, and he went to shake our hands. His hand was all bloody, and he said, hey, let me clean my hand up. And I just grabbed his hand and said, hey, you don't owe us anything. We wanted to thank you very much for all you have done. And he's still serving now, active duty in the Army. It feels great to be able to celebrate 10 years of serving veterans, giving back to veterans, getting veterans outdoors. So we started just shooting, bringing them to the range and shooting. And then we moved to shooting and hunting. And they went to shooting, hunting, fishing. We added skydiving a few years ago, tandem skydiving. And then we added wheelchair paddleboard, and we're looking forward to the next 10 years. But one of the neat things is when you serve others, time just goes by so fast because you're doing good, you're seeing smiles, you're seeing lives changed. You know, just to see a veteran smile and say, thank you for getting me outdoors, thank you for bringing me out fishing or hunting, or just to the range, and just give them a pat on the back and let them know that, hey, they can connect to the community and they can find healing there. Some of the most memorable moments serving as a volunteer with Black Dagger Military Hunt Club, probably one of the first ones that comes to mind is working with Michael Jernigan. Michael was the first serviceman to lose both eyes in a global war on terror. And he came to us and said, Dave, do you think you and your team can allow me to get out hunting again? And we didn't know how, but we went out and figured what needed to be done. We had some adaptive equipment that we acquired, and he was our test guinea pig, as we call it, and he laughed and said, I don't mind being that as long as you get me outdoors. So now we see him all over the world by himself, just going out hunting. And if you see the video where he says, hey, this makes me feel whole again. And that's what our whole purpose is.
Need to go right. Stand by. I'm going to adjust it.
Yes.
What were you just doing?
I was just shooting a target.
Morning. Need to go right.
What does each target that you successfully hit represent?
It represents a little bit of independence. It really represents the person I used to be. No matter how bad it gets, you can always remember a time when it was worse.
Thank you, Woody, for sharing this video. We can't wait to support this incredibly worthy cause. We've got even more SMC content ahead, so stick around right after a word from today's presenting sponsor, Weldcoa. During this year's SMC, attendees had the opportunity to hear from Brian Wild, Chief Government Relations Officer for the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors. Brian discussed the state of politics in Washington and the impacts that tariffs are having on our industry. Here to shed even more light on the ever-evolving tariffs is GAWDA's government affairs consultant, Rick Schweitzer. You cover D.C. There's nothing going on there, right? I mean, what? So can you just make sense of what the political landscape is at this moment while we're at the SMC?
Yeah, well, it changes every day, so it's hard to say. Obviously, we have a very, very politically divided government, even though the White House is controlled by the Republican Party, as is the Senate and the House. There are very slim majorities in the Senate and the House, and because Congress has not been able to enact legislation to make permanent changes to policies, the White House has decided to issue a substantial number of executive orders that change administration policy, but it's only on a temporary basis. And they're really pushing the envelope as to how much they can do by executive order. And they've run into some barriers with federal court judges who have issued injunctions claiming that the president doesn't have particular powers that he has assumed.
Absolutely. So the hot topic du jour here while we're here is tariffs. And, I know that might not even last for as long as this interview does, but can you tell us the state of tariffs right now and what it will mean or has meant for GAWDA members?
Well, when you think of tariffs, you think of them as leveraging tools. It's a negotiating tactic, and Trump is the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal. So there are a number of different approaches to tariffs and different objectives. So, for instance, with Canada and Mexico, he's looking at enforcing border security, trying to keep undesirables from crossing the border from those two countries, and also trying to stem the flow of fentanyl and other drugs from those countries. So by imposing tariffs, it is a way to get their attention and to have them address these essentially security issues in an economic format. For the EU and for other countries like Australia, it is more an attempt to restore the balance of trade. We have a substantial trade imbalance with virtually every country in the world. And so the president is trying to impose some fairness in the balance of trade. With China, it's more complicated and probably a longer-term structural problem. They are our big geopolitical foe. And China's issues are intellectual property. There's a long history of China essentially stealing American technology and IT. There is the problem with them manufacturing fentanyl and other drugs and supplying them through Mexico and other countries into the U.S. And then there's just the general trade issues of subsidizing their manufacturing and sending products here at lower prices than they can be manufactured in the United States. One of the problems with China is that they will set up and have set up manufacturing facilities in Mexico to take advantage of the country of origin benefits under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. So we have to redefine what constitutes the country of origin and the favorable treatment that those factories can enjoy when you have a foreign owner of the manufacturing facility. So that's going to lead to us having to renegotiate the agreement probably over an 18-month period and to try to strike a better deal and clarify that issue with regard to the U.S., Canada, and obviously Mexico and China as well.
Absolutely. So we heard from, at the SMC this morning, we heard from the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors, Brian Wild. He touched on tariffs, and there were some that he speculated would probably be permanent and outlast the Trump administration, even if it's replaced by a Democratic association. And some of them, specifically, I think, will impact GAWDA members. Steel, he mentioned, and aluminum, and pharmaceuticals. So can I get your perspective on that and why that might be the case?
Well, the steel tariffs are an attempt to restore manufacturing of steel in the United States. I mean, our last domestic steel facility closed, I don't know how many years ago, but obviously Pittsburgh's not what it used to be, and steel manufacturing just doesn't exist as a significant industry in this country anymore. This is an attempt to rectify that. Whether it will be successful, I don't know, but it's obviously a long-term solution. Pharmaceuticals and petroleum products are probably in my mind, shorter term concerns. The pharmaceutical industry is probably also, like steel, an attempt to shore up U.S. pharma manufacturing. I think in most cases, the tariffs, again, are shorter term negotiating tactics. I think a year from now, we're probably not going to be talking about this that much.
And we've had an opportunity to speak in the consultant roundtables that appear in the magazine every time, and I know that it does change, with the winds, but can you tell us what GAWDA members need to be doing to kind of stay abreast of the latest news?
Just pay attention to what's going on. Some industries have been successful in getting exemptions or waivers from various tariffs. And again, those might be temporary as well. The policy does blow in the wind as the negotiations go forward. And we're negotiating now with at least 70 different countries, either on a bilateral or multilateral basis. So depending on what commodities you're interested in, you simply have to keep up with what's happening in that industry and with those particular trading partners. I know, for instance, an awful lot of oil and natural gas, petroleum products go back and forth across the U.S.-Canada border. And that's something that, at least for now, is at least partially exempted. But that could change as well. So you just have to follow your particular commodity and your particular trading partners.
Okay. Any last messages you want to leave viewers with before we go today?
Again, I think that the tariff issue is a temporary issue. I think it is a way to sort of yank the chain of our trading partners to get some better deals, with the exception of China. I think China is something more structural where it's going to require a longer-term solution. But with everyone else, particularly Canada, Mexico, and the EU, I think we will have largely resolved these issues in the next 6 to 12 months.
Perfect. Well, Rick, as always, we appreciate your input, and thank you for joining us.
All right, man.
During the educational sessions at this year's SMC, attendees had the opportunity to attend a session entitled Unlocking the Hydrogen Opportunity for Regional Distributors, presented by Sunny Punj. We had the opportunity to speak with Sunny about this hot-button issue at the show. So Sunny, let's start there. You're going to be giving an educational session tomorrow about a topic that everybody's talking about, which is hydrogen, and specifically how independent distributors can kind of play in that space. So without, go beyond my explanation there, can you tell us what the overall message is going to be tomorrow?
Well, yeah, hydrogen's an interesting space. If you talk to 10 people, they'll give you 10 different opinions. And it just got more interesting with kind of the new administration and a lot of the production credits kind of on pause. So a lot of people are wondering okay, what's going to happen in hydrogen? And, the IGCs and the regional distributors, they've been dealing with molecules for a very long time, and oxygen, nitrogen, so on. But hydrogen's just been one of those things which has just been, there's always been kind of this myth around. It's usually been a playground for the big boys. And now as the demand for hydrogen keeps going up, regardless of what PTC credits you get or not, just the applications where gaseous hydrogen can be used keeps going up. So it's a question that I get a lot, and I've been doing a lot of speaking sessions and been part of a lot of speaker panels and so on, where the question is okay, well, how do I play into this? And so I think that's really the interesting part, and it's really a combination of kind of identifying the right opportunities, and asking the right questions, some training, and also having access to more cost-competitive sources to be able to pick up hydrogen.
Absolutely. So you used the word opportunities quite a few times in that answer. So what are the biggest opportunities in hydrogen right now, would you say?
So I'd say probably the biggest opportunities are around two different types of hydrogen. One is around industrial grade, and the other is around fuel cell.
Yep.
And industrial grade, there's a lot of applications that have been serviced for a long time, and those industries are growing, like powdered metals, semiconductors, anything they use is any kind of hydrogenation.
Sure.
Also, what's happening is a lot of the heavy industries that have a heavy carbon footprint, they are looking at ways to decarbonize. And any of these processes to decarbonize means changing their process a little bit, using a little more hydrogen. So that's also driving the demand. So that's on the industrial side.
Sure.
On the fuel cell side, I mean, there's all different applications that are coming up, and again, a lot of warehouses and so on. So it's just a myriad of applications that keep coming up, and they're all in the areas where a lot of customers that the regional guys are probably targeting, but they're not asking the questions around hydrogen. So.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've talked about when we've talked about hydrogen in the past, and maybe that's why it's traditionally been the big boys, has been the barrier to entry for getting into those hydrogen products. So is that getting more manageable now, or how is it that more independents can play in that space with it being that kind of investment?
Well, what's happening is the overall hydrogen market is growing. There's more pipeline opportunities. So the big boys are traditionally more focused in on that.
Sure.
And so that creates a mid-market segment, which is generally serviced by tube trailers, the steel tube trailers, even some of the carbon wrap trailers now. And so that market segment is growing. It's seeing more opportunities. And it's not a segment that's traditionally been focused in by the big boys. They may service it. Also, there's more sources that are coming up that are lower cost and a wider footprint. I'll talk about that tomorrow, which is making it more cost competitive for a distributor to now be able to compete in that space.
Absolutely. One of the things about hydrogen that has been really talked about a lot lately is its application as a transportation alternative. I know that we've had several of those, whether it was lithium ion or electric or whatever the case may be. Do you think hydrogen is going to ultimately be the winner in that space?
It might. I mean, I think a lot. It's like saying, what's going to happen with the stock market.
Sure.
There's so many factors. So I would be giving you probably an inaccurate answer if I say I know what's going to happen. But there's a lot of talk about it. So it's certainly going to be some sort of a hybrid solution that's eventually going to take traction. But as something for transportation alone, probably not so much.
Okay.
But there's hydrogen powered ships that are going out. So, but all of these need a little bit more incentive from the government to be able to do that. So let's see. The verdict's out.
Absolutely. Last question for you, Sunny. You're going to be giving your educational talk tomorrow. We've got over 700 attendees here, but for those who weren't able to make it, what is just the one takeaway that you want people to walk out of that room with? Like, if they get this, then it was a successful talk.
I mean, what I would say is that people are generally kind of, quote, been afraid of hydrogen. They're like, well, it's a hazardous thing, and we really don't understand it. We really don't have a position in it, or they'll hear stuff. So there's a lot of misinformation that floats around about hydrogen.
Yeah.
And that's something that, me and through my team, I'm trying to really be able to get some education, sales training, and so on. Hey, here's where you can look at opportunities. Here's some of the sources that are coming up. So I'd say just, reach out and try and really understand, because it's a good market out there. And the distributors have an advantage. They have feet on the ground, and they have trust level built with customers in their region. So they can really capitalize on this.
Perfect. Well, Sunny, looking forward to seeing your presentation tomorrow, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Finally, we're lucky enough to be joined next today by Liz McMurphy from GAWDA's Women of Gas and Welding Committee, as well as Heather Ewert and Amber Phillips, who won this year's WGW grant. Liz, Heather, and Amber, thank you so much for being with us today. Liz, can we start out today by having you tell us a little bit more about the WGW grant and the history of the program?
Sure. So originally, the Women of Gases and Welding Committee had a scholarship set up through AWS. And it was for a female in one of the regions to attend their regional meetings As the committee became fully integrated into GAWDA, we transitioned the scholarship program into a grant program focusing on GAWDA member employees. So our first year for the grant was in 2022. The first attendees went to UID in 2023. So this will be our fourth year for the grant program. So the grant is accepting applications starting June 1st, and the application is open until August 1st. We love early applications. It doesn't affect your score, but we always appreciate an early application. Speaking of scoring, we grade the applications looking at 3 different criteria. First is a resume. A tip there is to really make sure that you've reviewed and updated your resume and make sure you have some details about your duties and responsibilities. Next, we're going to look at a personal statement. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background in the industry, and why you're interested in attending UID. And then lastly, we're going to get a letter of reference from your employer. Really, it's best if this comes from your direct supervisor. They have a relationship with you. They can speak to your character, your work ethic, and your growth potential.
Perfect. Can you tell us a little bit more about what UID is and why it's such a great opportunity to attend?
Sure. So UID stands for the University of Innovative Distribution. It's put on by the AEA. It brings together a lot of thought leaders and instructors in industrial distribution, talking about things ranging from sales to HR to time management and leadership skills. It's a really great opportunity to build your resume, increase your skill set, and really set yourself up for growth in your career.
We're also lucky enough to be joined today by 2 of our 2024 grant recipients. Heather and Amber, can you tell us about your experiences attending the UID?
Okay, well, I went with an open mind. I really didn't have many expectations other than I was just ready to soak up everything like a sponge. I went by myself, so I feel like my experience was a little scary at first, especially with the opening speaker and seeing the large group of everyone. It really put in perspective of how big the event was. But I left with many new connections, friendships within the industry that I hope to carry on throughout the time in the industry. And overall, it was just very overwhelming. Just kind of even looking back at my notes now, I just remember little sparks of innovative ideas sitting in the classroom, and it's a lot to even still digest today.
I would say my experience was very similar to Amber's. I went in, I didn't have a clue. I didn't really have any expectations other than an open mind, and like Amber said, it's kind of intimidating. It's a little scary to go by yourself, and they don't give you a lot of information beforehand on what to expect, so you just kind of walk in blind and hope for the best. But overall, it was a great experience. There was several of us who went alone, and we ended up kind of grouping up and spending quite a bit of time together and networking, and had some really great discussions on things in the industry and where we wanted to go with our careers and things like that. The speakers were all amazing. It was like drinking through a fire hose, and I still will pull up I have pages and pages of notes that I took from the speakers. It was really, really good information. I was impressed with the speakers.
Can you tell me, like, what was your favorite session or topic that you attended?
It's hard to pick one. There was one that was about leaders aren't born, they're made, or something like that. That was a really good one. I have pages of notes on that one. But then there was another one. One thing that she had talked about that, like, I don't know what stuck with me was put time in your schedule to worry. So like throughout your day, when everything comes crashing at you and you're overwhelmed, like just deal with what you can in that moment. Be like, this is not my time to worry. I'm going to take care of this. And then when that time on your calendar comes up to worry, then you can sit and be like, okay, how do I handle this? What am I going to do about this? What about my kids? What about my wife? What about my husband? Like, take that time to worry, like set all that stuff aside for that moment. I don't know why, but that just really sat with me.
Amber, what about you? Did you have a favorite session?
I did, and I believe it's like a universal favorite session. It was with Jamie Turner, and it was Unleashing Your Superpower. That really resonated with me, just because he focused on not only like mental and physical health, but he mixed that with a blend of being healthy in your interpersonal relationships at work. And so overall, he just focused on making sure you're focused on yourself to bring your best self to work, and creating safe spaces like that to continue to grow and be influential to other people. So definitely the mental health space within the professional world was something that really stuck out to me in that session.
Great. So coming back into your working lives after UID, do you have any particular challenge or opportunity that you've come across where you feel a little better equipped to handle the situations?
I would say for me, I'm just very new to the industry, and also my role was recently carved out and very, very new here. And so for me, the challenge is silos that really stuck out to me. So learning how to pave my way into working as a team within like our sales and marketing and purchasing individuals, and combining us all together to really push for and strive for better communication and internally, so that information isn't siloed, and that those areas can be better constructed or better managed in ways that open up that communication style, and open up those discussions that allow us to all talk about what customers really want and need at the end of the day. So yeah, overall just silos and wanting to change those overall.
For me, I'm fairly new to a sales role within Chart. I don't really have a background in sales, and so trying to figure out what customers want, what's needed, how can I, not just sell a product, but create value for people. So there were, courses around that. There was building relationships, walking into the office of a CEO or a president, or worse, even both, is very intimidating. So there were tools given around, like, how to knock on the right doors, how to get meetings, how to build those relationships and provide value to your customers, not just try to sell a product. And I thought a lot of that was very insightful.
Great. So what advice would you give to future applicants for the grant program?
Apply. just do it. I went back and forth, and I was nervous, like, oh, would I even be considered? Like, do I deserve this? Or just do it. Like, don't drag your feet. You do, and do it. It's worth it.
I like Heather. I think we have those intrusive thoughts when we see an opportunity like that presented, and you start telling yourself, oh, don't apply. You won't have a chance. But yeah, you never know. Just take that chance on yourself, and you may or may not get it. And also you may learn something about yourself along the way. And just continue opening those doors and put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. So that's the only way to grow.
Excellent. Is there anything else you think a future applicant might need to know about the conference or the application process?
I was reflecting back on mine. Just apply with intention and set those goals, and then take time after the conference to, again, digest everything you learned and put it into practice. So coming up with a strategy and having those action plans, because time can go by so quickly. And an opportunity like this to even sit down and discuss it and reflect back, it's really starting to hit memories that I had sitting in the classroom, and it really is just energizing to be in a classroom style like that, not only with the speakers that they bring, but other people that you sit next to that you would have never had the chance to have a conversation with about this industry.
As I understand the scholarship, you can reapply for the grant even if you've previously won.
We've had several people apply more than once, and each time their application gets stronger and stronger. It really comes down to like fractions of a point to decide who ultimately the grant winners are. So I highly encourage everyone to reapply.
Liz, Amber, and Heather, thank you so much for being with us today to shine some light on this amazing program. To apply for this year's grant, click the link in the description below. GAWDA Media is the go-to resource for news and information about the gases and welding industry. Through our wide variety of publication platforms, GAWDA Media keeps our members up to date on all of the most breaking news, emerging trends, and member events in the industry. Want to get your company's message seen? We have a quarterly print publication, a twice-monthly newsletter, an online buyer's guide, and a twice-monthly news show. If it's happening at Gases and Welding, it's happening on GAWDA Media. Want to learn more? Contact your GAWDA Media representative today. Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Welded Products. Check out Anthony's latest product offering, the 3-in-1 cart. Primary features of the 3-in-1 cart include its zinc-plated safety chain, fast-action cylinder band, and load and roll front casters. The frames come in small, medium, and large to fit your exact size cylinders. Anthony offers a variety of wheel sizes and styles to fit your specific need. Anthony Welded Products, often copied, never equaled. During the 2025 GAWDA SMC, GAWDA announced its winners of the 2025 GAWDA Scholarship. The GAWDA Scholarship awards $2,000 to 15 students that are connected to our community. The goal of the scholarship is to invest in the future of our industry. Since the program launched in 2011, GAWDA has awarded more than 173 scholarships, totaling close to $143,000. To see the full list of winners, click the link in the description below. American Welding and Gas named Temple Sloan as its interim CEO. AWG also announced that it had acquired Grant Hagberg Company in Griffith, Indiana. Meritus Gas Partners appointed Rob D'Alessandro as its president and COO. Norco named Stuart Wesselman as its new regional vice president of Norco Industrial. Crane Chem Pharma introduced its new brand, Crane Cryogenics. Ferd has rebranded as Ferd Tools. Equigas opened Correct Cryogenics East in Greensboro, North Carolina. ORS NASCO announced that it had acquired Technoweld USA. Technovalves North America rebranded as Gas Pros. And finally, GAWDA Media is proud to announce that we've expanded our sales team with the addition of account managers Zach Watson and Jake Karodnik. To learn more about any of these member news items or to submit member news of your own, read the complete June 1st issue of the GAWDA Connection in your email inbox today or by clicking the link in the description below. And that's our show for this month. Once again, we had a great time with the more than 700 members who attended the SMC in Dallas last month. We look forward to seeing you again at one of our upcoming regional meetings. The Seven Springs Regional will take place next week from June 4th to the 5th in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania. Registration is also open now for this year's Northwest Regional, which takes place in Cle Elum, Washington from July 13th to the 15th. To register for the Northwest Regional, click the link in the description below. For all of us here at GAWDA TV, this is Steve Guillermo signing off.